Good evening, everyone. As you all noticed last Shabbat, so even though Rosh Chodesh was going to fall on Sunday, Motzei Shabbat, and our tradition and custom is that when that happens, the Haftorah of the Parsha is that of Mochel Chodesh, which substitutes for whatever the regular Haftorah should be. However, that was not the case last Shabbat, because we read Miincha Aug, which is the fourth of the 7 Haftarot of comfort, the Shiva de Nechemta. So the Meforshim comment upon this, and it really is a very difficult subject. Is there really such a thing as Nechama? We're accustomed that during times of tragedy, people visit, say things to others, which is meant to alleviate the pain of the moment. But in considering it, does that really do anything? Because the loss is never redeemable. So what does it mean to be menaching the Jewish people, for instance, for the Churban Bayis? So just to recite 7 chapters from the Navi Yeshayahu would seem to be almost meaningless. And in the previous generation, what type of comfort or consolation does Jewish people have for the Shoah? And I'm not talking just individually or within families, but in the general perspective. So all the Meforshim discussed this as being a deep psychological wound. And psychological wounds are not healed. Rather, they are circumvented. We proceed in spite of the wound. But we don't say that the wound doesn't exist anymore. So the idea of the Shiva de Nechemta, 7 Haftorahs of Nechama, is parallel to the 7 days of mourning and of consolation that people go through, God forbid, in times of personal loss and tragedy. And it is always meant to be cumulative in effect. There's not one Haftorah, so to speak, that does it. But it's the cumulative effect of the 7 Haftorahs. And because of that, therefore, we never omit any of the 7 Haftorahs. Even if, for instance, Rosh Chodesh, this year Rosh Chodesh fell on Saturday night and Sunday, Monday. But if Rosh Chodesh would have fallen on Shabbat, so then we would have read the Haftorah of Rosh Chodesh. But we would have to make up for the fact that we did not have the Haftorah of Miincha Aug. So therefore, in the Parsha of Ki Seitzei, we would double up. and we would read both Haftorahs, Roni Akora and Ani Yosoara, so as not to be missing one of the Haftorahs of Nechoma. Because Nechoma is cumulative, and it's like you have a formula, chemical formula. If you omit one of the items, so then it's not going to work. So psychologically, the Torah informs us that human people also work on this formula. Chazal say, Gzeira alames shetishtachach min halev. One of the great gifts that the Lord has given us is that what happened to our loved ones is sublimated in our minds. We don't think of it every minute. If we did, we could not function. So therefore, we don't, it's a gzeira from heaven, shetishtachach min halev, that the heart forgets it, is able to circumvent it. The Medrash says, for instance, by Yaakov Avinu, when he mourned over the loss of Yosef, says, Vayokom kol bonav uvnosov, they all gathered to give him the choma, vayemoin li'nochim, and he refused the choma. So Rashi points out there immediately, because this gzeira al hameis shetishtachach didn't apply, because Yosef was still alive. If it was still alive, then it's impossible for Yaakov to sublimate it. It's impossible to give him any sort of nechama. So nechama is a circumvention, you go around it. It's not a direct thing. So the Churban Beis Hamikdash is something that we have never accepted nechama over. We proceed with Jewish life, but the comfort and consolation for the Churban has never arrived. And I would be bold enough to say that throughout Jewish history in general, there's no nechama for the tragedies that we have undergone. There only is the fact that somehow we have continued and rebuilt ourselves and accomplished, but there's no nechama. So the Rishonim ask a question, how come there's no bracha for Nichum Avelim? Why don't we make a bracha? Sher Kitchonim Itzvosov V'Tzivonu L'Nachem Avelim. Nichum Avelim is a mitzvah. Shita said, hold, it's a mitzvah min Torah, not just midrabanan. It's one of the midos of the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachol, that he's Menachem Avelit, came to be Menachem Avram Avinu, so we imitated. So why is there no bracha? So there are many answers that are given, but one of the answers that's given is this point, that nechama never arrives. A mitzvah that's impossible to fulfill. You're never going to be Menachem B'Yovel, because the loss is irreplaceable. So then it's only a question of continuity. strengthening the person to continue. That already is not the mitzvah. So there's no bracha that's involved. So the Shiva, the Nechemta, the 7 Haftorahs, in their cumulative effect, come to impress upon Klal Yisrael this message. And we see it in the dialogue in the Haftorahs themselves. The Haftorah begins, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, Yomer Elokechem. So Rebbeinu Shem says, okay, have Nechama. And the next Haftorah is Vatomer Tzion Azovani Hashem. Vosvar Nechama. The Rebbeinu Shalom forsook me. So then we try again. Anochi, Anochi, Umanachem. I'm giving you Nechama. And then we say, Abi Yosara Lo Nechama. It doesn't help. And that's the whole progress of the 7 Haftorahs that the Navi points out to us. It's almost the futility of Nechama. So then what is meant to teach us is that even without Nechama, our tasks remain the same. And the chesed that the Rebbeinu Shalom did, shetishtachach min halev, helps us in that respect. But we should not think that it brings true nechama. So the Meforshim discussed that regarding Bayis Shlishi. Will Bayis Shlishi be a nechama for Bayis Rishon and Bayis Shem? Or will we then also still have the scars? So in our fantasies, we like to think that everything will be perfect. Then, but the Rambam says clearly that Olam Kiminhago Noheg, the world will continue the way it is, will not be different than it is today. And therefore, Nechama will be hard to achieve. So again, that's a goal that we have, but it's a goal that is always beyond us. And therefore, we should treasure the cumulative effect of the 7 Haftorahs to allow us to come into better times. And it serves as the introduction for the new good year that will be upon us. And that is the idea of the Shiva de Nechemta. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashi Omer Rotz HaKodesh Baruch Hu Zakos Yisrael Lefichach Hir B'lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar Anoch Hetz Man Tzidko Yagdil Torah Yad.